everyone. Welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. This is said podcast. I'm Matt. I'm hosting this thing. I've actually got a really huge gray beard now, so yeah, I'm your Santa this week. With me this week are the two fantastic co-hosts who run everything and make the site and this podcast exist in the first place. Liz Harper, the editor-in-chief, and Joe Perez, practically the actual artificer of the site, who keeps, finding new ways to make this podcast exist. Thank you to both of you for being here.
Well, thanks. Thanks for continuing to let me be here. Well, I guess it's not your choice. So thank you guys, for listeners at home, for continuing me to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here, but no one asked me, and why would they? I wouldn't entrust me with this. Let's give Matt some power. No one has ever said that. No one has ever said, he seems like a stable chap. Let's give him power. Speaking of power, World of Warcraft has some beta things happening, so we're going to talk about them. They now have the Night Elf and Blood Elf house exteriors. This is on the beta. This is not live, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. It's only on the beta. I'm hoping it'll be here in pre-patch, but Blizzard has not said that it will. So
don't count on it.
Yeah, don't hold your breath, because you can't hold your breath for that long. You just shouldn't try. It's not safe.
It's not a good idea, even if you're Batman or Tom Cruise. I guess both Batman and Tom Cruise can hold their breath for the requisite 10 minutes. I'm not sure how Tom Cruise does it, but Batman can do it too. So. But at this point, there's a note here saying Joe wants to talk about resto, shaman healing. This is again on the beta. I assume so. It's for midnight. Joe?
It is. Liz, do you have something to add to it?
Oh, I was just wondering if am I the only one who has seen these new housing styles in the beta?
Yeah, I was going to say, do we want to save me for after everything else? Because
I'm just reading the notes, man. The notes, it's right there. So I just kept reading it.
Why don't we come back to me?
Do you still want to talk about Night Elf and Blood Elf, or do you want to talk about the decorative mailboxes?
Well, I think the Night Elf and Blood Elf styles are something people have been super hyped about. This was one of the big things, because the Alliance Zone has those kind of ordinary L1 houses, and maybe you like them, but that's it. We've got a lot of Night Elf fans out there who have been looking forward to Night Elf houses since day one. And similarly, on the Horde side, in the Horde neighborhood, Orc houses are not... I don't want to say not anyone's aesthetic, but...
No. I'll tell you right now whose aesthetic they are. Do you like Axe body spray? Do you enjoy the smell of clothing that you haven't washed recently enough, just traipsed about your house? Do you think that boiled sausage is a good scent? Then welcome to Orc housing. That's how they look. They look to me like fantasy college students. They're out. They're finally not having to listen to their mom anymore. And their mom can throw a mean shoe, because I'm convinced orcs throw shoes like they are champion chancla throwers. I will not be dissuaded on this. But once you leave home as an orc, you build your first orc house, I feel like it would reek like armpit. And possibly onion bratwurst. So yeah, that's orc housing for you. If you like that, there you go.
It's just, the
It's very brutalist.
I wouldn't even call it brutalist, because it's like a brutalism has a sort of massive grandeur, but orc housing, there's this aesthetic of nothing lines up. There are no perfectly straight lines. There's no...
It depends. There is one that basically turns your house into a fortress. You
add those bits on the side.
Yeah,
I think look really weird.
They look really, really weird, but that's what I mean. Like it's utility, right? Like it's very it's not pretty. It's not meant to be pretty. It can be if you like it, you like it, but like it's not meant to be overly pretty.
My wife just overheard us having this conversation as she was walking by, and she said, "Just tell him it's shack nasty." So that's apparently, in my wife's opinion, orc housing is shack nasty. I don't make the rules, nor do I even know what that means.
I don't know either. So I don't know what else to say to that.
I say I've looked at the Blood Elf house. Like I went and looked at pictures we have of it, and it's pretty. It is almost exactly what you'd expect for a Blood Elf house. The Night Elf house, it doesn't quite look like I was expecting based on Night Elf places I've been to.
Well, there are so many Night Elf housing styles we've seen that are like open in a way that would not work for player housing.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
like if
Like the inns
yeah,
and
back
stuff.
in
Yeah.
yeah, back in Teldrassil, you had all those open platform houses. You've got an open platform on the lower floor, an open platform on the upper floor, but a player house is contained. So, um, but also you do see some kinds. If you wander around Teldrassil, you do see some houses that are kind of little self-contained houses, and they've tried to catch that aesthetic and the aesthetic you get on Belemeth. There were already some Belemeth interiors with a certain kind of woodwork and colors that you had. But I mean, yeah, they're elfy, but yeah, they may not be exactly what you expect if you're like, okay, I just rolled a night elf, I'm walking out of Darnassus, and I don't know, are we thumbs up or thumbs down for elven housing?
I like both of them. I think both options are actually very, very pretty.
I would just like to see. I would like to see the color variation a little bit more. Like, I don't have a problem with the Night Elf one for us in architectural terms. I think it looks nice, but the colors are a little. I would like to see some variation, like the Feathermoon Stronghold houses, which are a lighter cover, and they almost look like they've got lichen on them, versus the ones on Darnassus, which are a much greenier color, much more like, hey, living plants are growing out of this thing. But I don't have a problem with them otherwise. I think the Blood Elf one, it plays it safe, but it is impossible to complain about this. Like, it looks like what you think of when you say Blood Elf.
I hadn't considered that until you said it, Matt. But yeah, it plays it almost too safe. It's a very conventional Blood Elf architecture. The only thing I thought was a little unusual about it is the entranceways, which you have like a grand entranceway, a super grand entranceway, and just a door. Those are your 3 entranceway options.
Yeah, servants entrance.
Well, I mean,
guest entrance.
Yeah.
The just the door was something we definitely saw in Suramar, of all places. So that kind of makes sense, at least a little bit.
I mean, for Nightborn architecture to be influencing Blood Elf architecture, considering they probably visit each other's cities quite a bit.
I was going to say, because of the marriage, probably frequently.
Are we talking about the wedding that I still have not been invited to? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yes.
Yes.
But I mean, but no, seriously.
If it makes you feel better, my character not only wasn't invited, and as a night elf, I spent several like levels of my character helping the Nightborn, and then they joined the Horde. And I was like, okay, guess I shouldn't have bothered with that.
But yeah, seriously, go look at if you look at the Blood Elf player housing and then go like look at the overview of Suramar and Silvermoon and then start comparing the two, you'll see where like the blend comes from.
I don't now that you've said this, and Liz mentioned Belemeth before, I think those 2 places are responsible for some of the elements I'm seeing in the Night Elf one.
Correct, which is what the next thing is you got it's and not necessarily they call it Night Elf housing, they call it Blood Elf housing, but it's more elf housing for each faction, and each faction technically has 2 elves associated. Technically, I'm air quoting.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of void elf in the coloration of this house.
But void elves are while they are on the alliance side, they're still technically high elves, at least most of them, if I remember correctly. And that would influence through the Blood Elf architecture. It's one of those really things of where like they're kind of trying to pay homage to everything in one type thing. Like when they do dwarf housing, you're going to see that same thing. You're going to see influences from like Earthen and the Wildhammers and the Bronzebeards. And you're also going to see influences from the Dark Iron, right? Because you're going to have all those influences. And instead of having one individual style of housing for each, you have a catch-all, and then you let players build off of that to sort of narrow it down and appreciate the vision, right?
I do think, though, I will say that I do think that you're onto something, but I will also do think that this is meant to look. The heaviest influence on the Horde one is Blood Elves.
Of course, yeah.
It's just the coloration's the same, the spires are the same, and obviously there's a little bit more different influences on the Night Elf one, but it still looks. It is not that dissimilar to stuff you'd see in Feathermoon or on Teldrassil. Just the coloration and the enclosing is different because there's not big structures like this don't exist in those places that are not open.
But I would argue that it does pay homage to Warcraft 3 Night Elves, which was the start of Night Elves in general, where the building, the housing, the player housing itself has a lot of the elements that look like it was taken from the buildings that you would put down as a Night Elf.
Yeah, I can't speak to that at the moment, so I haven't looked at that in a while. But regardless, I do think that it's good to see something that isn't just orc or human. I mean, I'm still holding out for Tauren. I'd love to see some crazy crystal floating Draenei stuff. For that matter, I might just make my own. It's not like I can't make a crystal bigger and float it somewhere. So.
Yeah, the thing that I'm really hoping at some point we get is I'm really hoping we get the option to choose like a cross faction, like housing style. On like we're on a horde. Our main guild stuff for mine, and this is selfish. We're on the horde side. I actually like a lot of the plots on the horde side, and the one I have I really really enjoy, but I just hate the horde housing that's available so far. And I would really love the ability to, when dwarf housing becomes available, shove a dwarf house there. Like, I really hope that that's something that they look at opening up. I don't know if they've even talked about with any sort of like it's on like a whiteboard somewhere maybe. But it would be nice to see if that's an option because, again, the whole aesthetic thing. I'd like to be able to have the player housing that I want in the area that I want.
I think at this point we should move on to mailboxes though. Because I think this is pretty important if you are building your player house and you decide to give yourself a decorative mailbox. It works. You can send
we should say it will work. It is working on the beta, not in the live game, not in early access. But yeah. But actual functional mailboxes, not just decorative mailboxes. They do more than sit there and look pretty.
Now, I think this is fine because whilst it will allow you to prepare more, it doesn't actually obviate the need to go to an auction house. You can't just do everything at your player house, which is one of the biggest problems we had with strongholds. They just basically kind of replaced practically everything you did, ironically, except go to the auction house. But, all the other stuff you could do, you just did there. You made your gold there with the map dealy. I forget what it's called. My God, the table. I cannot remember the name of that stupid table. My God,
mission table.
Mission table. Thank you.
I had to dig into the back of my mind. Yeah, that.
I'd repress that. But yeah, so it's a far cry from that. But I do think it is nice to just. It's just an easy thing to give people. And then they can just click on it and get stuff out and decide, am I going to resell this? Am I going to put it in the bank? What am I going to do? I think it's generally a pretty cool idea.
It's also something you can already do with toys or with certain mounts. It's just this will make mail more accessible. And mail is not such a huge tool that it's going to... I don't think this unbalances anything. It's just a nice little convenient to have a mailbox there. If you want one, you don't have to put a mailbox out.
And also they're decorative, so some of them are pretty, which is always nice. You can
that is true.
Stick a pretty little mailbox up front. Then you can try to get inside it, I guess. I don't know. It's not bigger on the inside, it's a mailbox.
The houses are bigger on the inside. The mailboxes are just mailboxes.
I mean, we don't know. We haven't been in there. But actually I want to talk about this one though, because lumber. Hello. This is on the beta right now. Harvest 250 of any kind of lumber to be able to harvest it while staying mounted?
Yes. There are achievements in the beta that will award you with the ability to mount while you are still flying after harvesting 250 pieces of that type of lumber. So you would have to do this for the type of lumber in every expansion. And that's a significant quantity of lumber. Even 250 by itself is a significant quantity of lumber. And I would say, okay, this is neat. You can go and more easily farm things. And then I would say, just roll a druid. Druids can do that already.
Here's my question, though. When it says to harvest 250 of any kind of lumber, does it mean you can be any kind of lumber, but it has to be 250 pieces of the same lumber?
250 pieces of the same lumber, and then you can harvest that particular lumber without dismounting.
That
So you have to do this over and over again. So already it's less
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Yes, so you have to do it for the classic lumber and the Burning Crusade lumber and the Wrath lumber and the. You see where I'm going with this? 250 each.
Hey Blizz, can we not? Can we just like because you only get like one lumber per, and you're getting them so rarely. That's insane.
It's agonizing.
Just either make it 250 total, or just let us have it while mounted. Come on.
Like 50 each. Even 50 is a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about doing 50 for each expansion Warcraft has ever dropped, these are hours of your life that you are never going to get back.
I'm sorry. If nothing else, they have to give you a title for doing this, like the Deforester, or Lumberbane, Tree Killer, Tree Killer. If you're a troll, just something. My God, 250 lumber times like what, 6 expansions?
It's a lot.
Everything, including classic, original WoW, and all of the expansions except Midnight, 250 per. So yeah, that's 250, 500, 750, 1,000 by Cataclysm. Then you go Mist is another.
We're doing it live. We're doing math live on air.
It's over 1,000, and I'm done trying to count the rest of these expansions. So probably 2,000. 2,000 lumber when each lumber is 1 per tree. You are a maniac, and you are literally, druids should be throwing themselves at you to stop you. Unfortunately, the druids are also busy turning into birds to get lumber while staying flying. So they're too busy.
Yeah, I mean,
they're too busy to stop us from destroying all of Azeroth's.
That's the thing. Druids don't have to do this. Druids just stay bird form while they're getting lumber.
We're gonna get into druid bias in a few moments. Don't you worry.
I mean, if you want to farm lumber, roll a druid. That is step 1. Roll a druid, and that is the only one farming lumber for you, because when lumber is few and far between, that extra time to mount and dismount, that saves you a lot. Roll a druid, guys. If your druid happens to get these achievements and you can do this on other characters, fine. Start with a druid.
Okay, now that we've talked about all that, Joe, do you want to jump in and talk about the healing thing now? Or
I do, because it's a topic that we talked about earlier, where healing is getting pruned in a lot of cases for certain classes. Resto Shaman being the one that probably got pruned the heaviest on beta, and they've been slowly walking back some of that pruning, trying to find balance and figuring things out. And while things have definitely improved, I can say with certainty that the 2 weakest healers right now, as far as content goes, in terms of Raid and Mythic Plus, are, in my opinion, Holy Paladin and Resto Shaman. And it's not for a lack of tools, it's for how the tools work. Everything, and I can't talk so much in depth about the Paladin. I'm still kind of messing around with it and kind of figuring things out. But it just feels woefully like weaker than it has in a while, as far as like its available throughput. Resto Shaman, on the other hand, I know like the back of my hand, and it is RNG dependent right now. And that is an awful place to be for any healer. So everything triggers off of like your spell cast, which is fine, but everything's a percentage to trigger. So every time you cast a Riptide or a healing wave or a chain heal, you have the possibility of proccing an ancestor or proccing your totem or doing whatever as far as Farseer goes. And Farseer is mathematically the superior throughput skill, or the throughput talent system. Totemic is way down. Totemic, at the best of times, was at one point it was like the best throughput in the game, and now it's even worse trying to get people to stand in your healing stuff, because most of your healing comes from downpour from your healing rain. So if people aren't standing in your healing rain, or they move out of it, or I don't know, the fight requires movement, so you can't just place a static effect on the ground effectively, and people move out of it because they have to in order to not die, all of your healing goes away. And if all of your throughput is put into that ability, then you're losing a big chunk of healing and you're not going to be able to keep up with damage. And that's a lot of the ways it feels with Farseer or Resto Shaman right now as well, is because it's so reliant on RNG, you can't accurately predict how to react to things all the time. And I'm not saying that it's unplayable. It's definitely not. It's certainly better than it was when the beta started, but it's interesting that they're doubling down on procs for a healing class. And then you look at other classes, and this is where I go to the druid bias. Druids are top of the food chain right now. Like, yes, they have hots and that's mainly what they do, but it's predictable. What they have, a druid can plan for. They can put stuff where they want to. It's not like in the Resto Shaman case, I can put my Riptide on people, but then half of my other stuff is I might proc an extra Riptide on some other random player in the group. I can't plan for that. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know who's going to get it. And then that could result in overhealing. Druids, on the other hand, can just put hots where they need to go, let them do their thing, and consume cooldowns as necessary to, increase their healing. It's an interesting balancing act, and I'm very curious how they're going to fix it before it goes live, because now we know when the pre-patch for Midnight happens, and then, pre-patch events are essentially where this stuff changes, right? And then it's only a matter of time before you get to the actual release, and it's gonna feel weird. Now, at least they're listening. It seems like they're listening to player feedback, but it's, again, a very curious design choice to lean so heavily into RNG for something that is supposed to be predictable. I don't know. I wanted to talk about it a little bit, not necessarily rant, but just mostly put it out there where it still seems like it's not quite balanced where it needs to be. And that may be me. Looking, I don't want to say too far into it, but if I'm judging by the player reactions in like Earthshrine and Ancestral Guidance and other places on the internet, I'm not the only one that feels that way. So hopefully they continue to listen, and hopefully they continue to balance it before it goes live. But man, it is a weird time to be a Resto Shaman.
All right. Thank you, Joe. And I'm not going to be getting my Resto Shaman out of retirement this expansion, I guess.
I think I heard Liz.
You never know. This is you can get some weird power swings, but I don't know what would prompt anyone to look at a class and say, you know what this needs? More RNG.
Mm-hmm.
You know what players love? More RNG. I mean, there's such a fine.
No, go ahead.
There's just such a fine line between, oh, here's a proc, it's exciting and fun, and you can go like, wow, this is awesome, I got a proc on this cool thing, and just feeling disappointed because you're relying on that proc, and it's not frequent enough or predictable enough, So
yeah, it's a disconnect.
You two both play heroes a lot, right?
I haven't been playing one lately, but I have the mindset, I think.
Let me actually put it to you this way. Would you agree or disagree with this statement? RNG feels much more fun for DPS than for healers.
I would argue that RNG has killed DPS class specs in the game already, looking at rogues and making them completely unplayable, because even then, DPS also has to have a level of predictability to it. I think it's more of a disconnect between group content, predictability, necessity, and world-class fantasy. Right? Like, I think RNG procs feel great for class fantasy. When you're in the world and you do something and an ancestor pops up and does it alongside of you, that's cool. If you're a rogue and, randomly you throw dice out and it gives you a DPS proc, that's cool. When you're in a raid environment or a key environment or a group environment where you have to pull your own weight, it's a little less cool, because now the mechanics of what you are engaging in are naturally at odds with that class fantasy of random number generation.
Yeah, I wonder how much of it is to the fact that because procs tend to be strong, they've tended to make them very low chance of procking compared to just having an ability that you can push a button on. Because then when you have a thing you can push a button on, you control it. Mm-hmm. You can choose to use it. Okay, we know this is going to be a very high damage boss. shaman, you earth shield him or what have you. There's an ability you can tell people, okay, I'm gonna have a rotation. People are gonna use cooldowns on rotation to keep the tank up because if any one of these hits them twice in a row, they're going to die unless we have cooldowns. Whereas if it's RNG, then you just have to hope it goes off. You can't decide to use it, and being you might get more actual healing out of it as a proc as opposed to getting to use it when you want to. But when you can use it when you want to, you can control how you're using it. I don't know because I have to go back to Gerthalak. You guys remember Gerthalak, the sword from Deathwing? It had a ridiculously powerful proc that went off all the time, and there was an exploit. It was a two-hander, and so if you had two of them on a Fury Warrior, that they could proc individually. So you could have, instead of just one tentacle popping up out of the ground and laser beaming things, you could proc two of them. And then if two of them were up, another one could proc.
Yeah.
You could have but that's like, those are edge cases. I wonder if that's the problem is they've tried to make procking less overwhelmingly common.
Maybe, but also so much of like the class is tied up in the procs to do its job, right? Like that's sort of a weird disconnect. Like a random, like, how do I phrase this? If you have a baseline and the baseline is good, and then sometimes something procs and it makes that baseline skyrocket for a couple seconds and then drop back down, I don't see that as a problem because your baseline is still good. If you balance everything around that huge spike, however, and that is your expectation of where the class is going to be or should be when it performs, or that's where all of your abilities go around, that's where all your talents roll around, and that's where all of your throughput lives, that becomes a problem. And it seems like that's kind of where the class design idea is living. And it started living definitely with the Farseer hero talent spec stuff. Like the procs and things like that were all about these incremental procs that popped off, and then when they were all going well, you just sort of did fantastic huge numbers. But the benefit was your baseline was solid, so your baseline, you could still do all of the minimal healing that you needed to do to deal with whatever was coming in, and you still had access to your external cooldowns and whatever else you needed. Moving more into those procs and basing so much of the throughput on it, at least for Farseer, in my opinion, is a strange decision, because now you're essentially relying on gambling to make the class good. And if my luck is awful, then I'm going to have a terrible night and I'm not going to feel like I'm pulling my weight, right? Or if I have a hot streak, I'm going to blow all the other healers away potentially, and then that doesn't feel good either. Consistency in those instances breeds a better fun environment, in my opinion. And you at home may disagree with me, and I'm curious how you feel about it. But it's just, it's the same thing with like the totemic healing, having it tied so heavily on an unmovable AoE effect is an interesting choice, and it's great in some cases. But the way that encounters are designed, you're moving a lot and you can't move it. And so if everybody moves or you incorrectly time it by even a couple seconds, your throughput drops dramatically. And Downpour was like, if I was looking at the combat logging correctly, it was like the second or third like highest number of healing throughput for that particular hero talent. It's really interesting. I'm hoping that they balance it, and we got time. And I've already submitted my feedback. I've submitted probably books of feedback at this point with like citing numbers and everything else. I was not joking. I told you when I got into the beta that I was going to be dumping like data on them. I've done this before, and I've made arguments, which is why Spirit Link worked the way it did in the first place. I was among the group that definitely lambasted them and made sure that it worked. But yeah, it's hopefully they'll continue to look at it. Hopefully they'll make some adjustments and walk back some of that RNG reliance as like your throughput, because I'll tell you right now, if it stays like this while I can heal, I don't know that I want to heal. And that's a pretty big thing for me to be saying that. I've been playing a healer for over 20 years in this game on the same class. So
the thing about RNG in healing, I mean, I think Matt did have a point there that RNG is maybe more fun as a DPS because you do get those exciting spikes and it's, exciting. But if you're a healer and you're required to have a spike in order to keep the party alive, that's not fun. You're relying on a random proc in order to keep your fellow players alive so all of you can keep playing. That's not fun, not strategic. But if you have a proc that's powerful enough to keep the party alive, a proc that's impactful, then the whole class has to be balanced around the knowledge that this proc will happen a certain percentage of the time. But if you are unlucky and you're not hitting that proc when you need it, then it's just gonna feel bad. And it's not bad as in, man, my DPS was really bad in this fight. It's bad as in, we had a party wipe because I couldn't do the thing, because the random thing,
It also influences...
That's not fun
It's not fun for everybody, but it also it doesn't influence things like Mythic Plus grouping, right? Like if you're looking for a healer for a Mythic Plus group, you need consistency.
Especially
you need somebody and so that now
you need someone who's reliable.
Exactly, and if the class is not able to be reliable because you can't predict the RNG, or the RNG is too swingy and it feels too swingy, you're going to essentially lock that particular player class out of that content, because players are not going to take that class if they can avoid it, because again, like you said, player wipes, when you have a timer and you're trying to achieve something in a predictable, like in a certain amount of time, you need efficiency. You can't do that with RNG. Balancing around procs is not where you should be at. I'm going to call this out for the recording, but also live. Monsoon Mike is absolutely right. Games shouldn't be balanced around random procs. The procs should be the icing on the cake. That's exactly the core of it.
And one thing that I think has long been an issue with Holy Paladins is that the power of Avenging Wrath. A paladin pops those wings, you get such a boost. You get such a boost with your wings out. But you're so powerful with those wings out. Blizzard has to balance the class around that power level. So when you pull those wings out, it feels awesome. You can keep the party alive. You were slinging heals like crazy. But you got a couple minutes between those cooldown windows, and in that time, it often feels like you're hitting like a wet noodle. You're not doing anything. Your heals are pathetic. They cost a ton of mana. And it just... So, because you have that high burst, it feels like you're constantly weaker all of these other times. And of course, that's a proc you have full control over. You can put that out when you want it. Full control. But Blizzard has to balance around the higher power level. So... that means that there are times you're going to feel very weak. You're either way on top of the game or you're way below game. And there's nowhere in between.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really disagree. Yeah, I did see that. I don't know what happened. It wasn't that. Oh, bloody heck, brain. I wanted to talk about something else, and now I can't remember what it was. I hate when this happens to me.
Well,
hold on.
We could indeed...
Pre-patch.
Indeed move on to the next topic. Yeah.
Pre-patch. Yes, that's what it was. We've got a release date, which is midnight pre-patch is January 20th, but the event starts on the 27th. So for the first week, you won't be able to do the event because it starts next week. You'll still get the other stuff that's coming,
There is a lot of content in the pre-patch, for better and for worse. You got your new Devourer Demon Hunters. You've got Void Elf Demon Hunters. This will be your first chance to level a Void Elf Demon Hunter or race change to a Void Elf Demon Hunter if that is what you desire. You're going to have all of these class changes, and that's not actually very long before this is going live. We've got a little less than a month before all of this goes live. So if you have feedback, send in your feedback. This is the time. This is kind of... Not that Blizzard can't change things after the fact.
Yeah, they'll still adjust it, I'm sure, but...
Yeah. But getting in while it's still a work in progress. We're also going to see the stat squish will come with the pre-patch. Yep, words, totally on top of this, and the UE changes are coming which means our add-ons are going to stop working. Some of them will never start working again because Blizzard no longer allows add-ons to access combat data, which really shuts down a lot of add-ons. But also, Blizzard is adding more in-game tools for encounter tracking, for DPS tracking. So the built-in tools are better, but some of the more advanced tools that we're used to using now will be gone. And we just have to learn to live with it. I don't know what else to say. That's we're gonna have to deal with this one. New transmog system is coming.
Oh man, I want to swear. I want to swear so badly, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Do we just have to move forward? There is only progress. Only progress. New transmog system is coming. I love it and I hate it because it offers a lot of big improvements on the current transmog system. Transmog will be tied to your armor slot rather than to a specific item. So if you get a new pair of gloves, you can put them on without breaking your amazing look. You can also set up transmogs to change situationally. So like if you teleport into your home, you have a cozy in-home transmog. Or if you go into your raid, it'll put you in your most awesome-looking murder-in armor. So all of these things, really cool. But setting up these appearances is significantly more expensive than it is right now. Like, so much more expensive. Even after Blizzard reduced the cost by 60% in the beta, it is still so much more expensive, and I'm not thrilled by it. I am a single issue voter in this case, and I am really not thrilled about transmog right now, which is yeah, okay, that's the thing. Transmog. Yay. We're also getting the let's move on. PvP training grounds, which is a comp stomp style PvP versus AI that will include Arathi Basin, Silver Shard Mines, and the Battle for Gilneas. Unlike comp stomp, this will be around all the time. You can just go play some PvP against AI opponents and enjoy it without enjoying the stress of having to deal with other humans, because that can be stressful. And of course, all of these class changes, so many new changes keep coming out. Those are all going to go live on January 20th. And of course, that's also exactly the day after Legion Remix ends. So you also that's how long you got to do all of your remix stuff. And if you're still trying to collect rewards or transmogs like I am, because there were a lot of them, you have until the 19th to do your remix thing. And then we've got pre-patch.
Yeah, yes, that is what's happening. I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like I don't have anything to say, but if I don't talk, we don't get to the next thing. Trading post for January, which has got basically it looks very, I'd say very elfy. It's the red and gold one, I believe it is. I hope the golds are all like unified to each other. I hate it when they do gold stuff and it's not. It's like one of a billion shades of gold. It's very hard to tell the difference, but it's there once you actually assemble a piece. And you're like, oh god, this is more of a bronze color than a gold color. So I'm hoping they work on that. But I'm pretty excited to see it. It says here one of the things I think you listed is the Scarlet Crusade style. It'd also go with that. That's cool.
Yeah, too. It's a little Hollowfall Arathi, actually, in my mind, is kind of some of the vibes.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is a bit of a smaller trading post, really. There are some reruns from last January, like the mount here is that sort of red orange peacock mount. That's from last January.
Yes,
and it's like, okay, I mean, I like it. I like the vibe. I like riding around on an angry fiery peacock. That's a great energy, but yeah, it's not the most thrilling trading post. But you can get a Savage Crimson Battle Turtle to ride.
Which is a recolor of the other Battle Turtle, I think.
It's so cool, but it doesn't fly. So what am I going to do? Walk around on the ground? No.
Yeah, someday they have to make a turtle mount that literally pulls its head and legs in.
And flies like camera.
Spinning. Yeah. start spinning and fire shooting everywhere, and just be like on the back of it going, ah. It's like maybe the chair you're on could be like a like gyroscopic chair.
Oh,
So
that'd be
you
great.
keep pointing forward while the turtle is spinning wildly, and you'd be like, don't look at the spinning turtle, just keep looking straight. And maybe you actually have, as a throwback to the old carrot on a stick trinket, maybe you actually have a carrot on a stick that you throw out ahead of the turtle, and the turtle's head pops out and is trying to get the carrot, and that's why you're flying in that direction.
Or
Yeah.
they have cannons on the turtle. Just let me turn them around and turn them into rockets. This is fine.
It's Blastoise.
Listen, in Grand Theft Auto
Why
3,
not?
I remember Grand Theft Auto 3, I remember getting the tank, turning the turret around, and launching myself into the air with it. Let's bring that back.
I'm not going to argue. But there's also the ensemble called Vengeful Regalia of the Crusader.
That's the month reward, right?
Yeah, that's the
that is the month bonus.
Well, keep going.
So, yeah.
I was just curious.
This is the one that feels to me a little Hellofall Arathi.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm looking at it. I can definitely see that. Yeah.
And it's kind of like the chest piece is kind of like a stained glass window thing going on.
I mean, if you're going to have chest armor, you want it to look like a stained glass window, because
I'm
the
not
best armor ever.
I mean,
That's
I
that Draenei
agree.
influence.
The looks are way up there. I don't know about the practicality of wearing a stained glass window on your chest, but looking cool does improve your DPS. So,
I learned that from the Bartos.
You know, I'm here for it.
Basically, this is like a Warhammer orc showed up and was like, "No, make it good. Look good is good."
You know, no, this is definitely like Warhammer Inquisition coded, like 100%.
Yeah, they do. The helmet is an interesting look in that you cannot see out of this helmet. Your eyes are literally covered with a blindfold. So that's not my favorite way to enter combat, but
it's also kind of a busy hat, to be completely honest with you. It looks less like a helmet and more like a pith helmet gone mad. But the body looks great. I mean, I think that the overall look of the armor is really good, but I do think that helmet's a bit like that. You really have to commit to that because it does look like a fire hydrant or something.
This looks like a
fire hydrant. It's a lot. There's a lot happening here.
This looks like a League of Legends skin for Lee Sin, like the blind monk. That's what this looks like. I don't hate it, but I definitely do not like the helmet.
It is. I think the helmet is the least flexible in terms of it's not necessarily bad. I feel like it would be really good as part of a Draenei. Like a Draenei look.
Interestingly enough, the coloration matches T2 Paladin skirt.
Yeah, it does.
Of course,
it's a little lighter.
Of course,
so
it does.
Somewhere Raids
look like
is
a lighter red.
Somewhere Raids is ready to slap somebody for continuing to bring back variations of T2.
I don't think that's a perfect match, though. I think the reds too.
I'm gonna try it.
But then I'm
muted.
picky about these things. I want things to match or not match.
At least all the gold on this set matches. There are some differences between the gloves and the rest of the armor, but the gold pretty much matches up, so that's nice. I don't know if it'll match up with unrelated gold from other sets, though.
Yeah, it's a slightly odd tone of gold because every tone of gold has to have its unique level of goldenness. To torment transmog enjoyers out there. I just want my armor trim to match. Why can't I get this color of gold to match this other color of gold to match this other color of gold? Because
they haven't added dyeing into the game yet, but I think we're one step closer to it.
This is why my favorite transmog set is still a transmog set from Legion, because it's all color related to itself and it matches the artifact. So I wear it a lot.
I often wonder like if they like when choosing the color palette for like a tier or an expansion or something like that, like if they actually have like you stay within these colors conversations, because it feels like they used to and maybe they don't anymore. Like I it might be unfair of me to say, but like we're talking about the colors not matching, and it bothers me incessantly, especially when like let's say you get and it's been like this since, at least for me, since Dragonflight, it really started like really needling me. Like you get the tier set. The tier set is a particular color that doesn't match anything else in the game, so you can't mix and match with anything but the tier set. right? That's sarcasm, I'm sure, because of the bucket. But like it back in the old days, and maybe it was just because it was a more limited palette or whatever, you could get a piece of tier and it would match with something else. Like I remember combining elements of the shaman tier from Ice Crown Citadel with like going all the way back to like Harad's shoulders and stuff like that, and the reds matched perfectly. And I'm curious if there is no containment for that so
I feel like Blizzard, I'm making a guess here, but I feel like they feel that when they're designing class sets, they can go a little more off the wall with color combinations and looks. And because the tier sets go kind of a step further than what they would do with sort of normal armor sets, just everyday stuff, I think that's why you wind up with colors that maybe don't match your day-to-day armors that or other things in your collection, because they want to make those tier sets really cool and really interesting. And I want to be able to listen, I'm looking for this wardrobe that I can mix and match. This is not helping. I love it. Not always helpful.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I'm cool. Like the design of it should be the part that's exciting and like epic, and I think that's fine. The colors matching the other colors of that tier or the other colors of that expansion, to me, and the way my brain works, I know I've talked about this on the pre-show. There are things called like hyper and super chromats where like human eyes can only see certain like hues or certain difference in hues, and the higher up that spectrum you go, the more you can recognize until you get to like the top echelon. It is very rare for genetic males to hit an upper echelon. I'm in like the 99th percentile of like being able to recognize color, and it bothers me because when something is like one hex code off, I can see it, and it frustrates me, and the fact that I cannot fix it infuriates me. And I know this is a me problem, but man, I just want things to match. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah,
clearly.
It apparently is.
Much.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the golds.
The golds are but we're gonna move on because
we
could
should
talk about this all day. We've got like 8 minutes, so we could easily take up all those minutes. But let's talk about other games. First off, I'm going to jump in real fast with the Diablo 4 thing because I've been playing it. I got my Paladin. I managed to pick that up. I just want to report, because we talked about it last week with Liz Pat. I want to report that my experience with it has been not entirely dissimilar from what she described, but in some ways it has been. In that I feel like I'm a god. Like I don't know how else to explain it. I was playing it. I think I was on like hard or beyond hard, just on my first season character. And at one point I had like 35 monsters jump on me, and they were dead before I used my AE abilities and just destroyed them like nothing. Like I've never had this experience. I've seen necromancers do it, but paladins are crazy. If you spec them for area of effect attacks,
oh yeah,
you can use each of your buttons to drop another one, and by the time you hit the last one, the first and second ones are both back off cooldown. I am just destroying things. I'm actually worse single target than I am against groups. Like I kind of wish that constantly was being attacked by groups, because that makes it so much easier. But I mean, I think if you wanted a good paladin class for Diablo 4, mechanically they have given it to you, and they've given it to you in a way where you have a lot of customization. Like I've spec'd heavily into AoE. You do not have to. There's just the 4 fanaticisms, the Zealot and the other 3 who I don't remember, because Zealot is oh god, so good. It's just really astonishing to see the flexibility that the class has. I'm still going to play barbarians more than I play these, but it's much closer than I was expecting. So I wanted to throw that out there. Joe, you've played. Oh, Liz was talking.
I do want to cut in for people who are maybe behind on the Diablo news that there's a Diablo expansion coming out called Lord of Hatred, and if you pre-order the Diablo expansion, you can play the new class, the Paladin, in Diablo 4 Season 11 right now. And it sounds like the Paladin may be just the tiniest bit OP at the moment. Just maybe a little.
I don't think it's as bad as Spiritborn were, but it's much
They
closer.
They were nuts.
It's much closer to them than Liz gave me the impression that they would be.
I mean, I have a very different experience than you do, my friend. I feel like my Paladin is made out of paper. Especially,
I don't even take damage.
Yeah, well, especially early game. Like, when last time we talked, when we recorded Lore Watch, we were both around level 17. Yeah, no,
I'm like 30 something now.
Yeah, I haven't played since then, but like, I could not take hits. I could not kill things fast enough. I was at a point where I was kiting stuff back to like guards or to other players and getting assistance, which felt really weird. And I thought I was doing something wrong. No,
I don't know.
Some stuff just hits really, really hard. So like I'm curious. I'm gonna have to dive back into it, but I've had a very different experience than you, my friend. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying it because I'm throwing a lot of hammers around me, and that is always a good time.
Oh, okay. All right. You're using the hammers. Yeah.
That was the first thing I picked up.
Yeah, mine is much more based around mine's all zeal stuff, first off. Like zeal is my thing. I'm a zealot. And because I'm using the armor aura, and I've got it spec'd to give you thorns, and when you expel it, it explodes with the force of all your thorns and then regenerates your thorns back up. I take very little damage. Like I just when I do take damage, it's usually because I can no longer I've run out of buttons to push, which can happen but does not happen very often. So I think it's possibly spec related to a degree. But I mean, some specs are just much better at single target than I am. I have had difficulty killing bosses just because I just can't do enough single target damage. Like they will stand there and they will hit them and hit them and hit them and they just don't die. Meanwhile, every time they summon 30 ads, I'm like, okay, boom, 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 yay. But
that's a very necromancer thing to say.
Yeah, it does feel a little necromancer-y. I will say it's like a good necromancer. It's like not good in quality, good as in morality. Not that necromancers aren't, we're really devoted to the light thing, and you guys are all into that death.
We're here to preserve the balance, Matthew.
I feel like kind of like you're the hot topic guys, and we're the golden retrievers. It's like I can actually see a necromancer and a paladin, hanging out, and I just like, are we going to do stuff now, buddy? Yes, we are going to achieve the balance. Does that mean I get to blow everything up? Yes, that is what it means. Okay. But yeah, no, I wanted to talk about it because for one thing, I'm really interested in what Joe just said, because now I'm like, I'm going to see if it's just that I've managed to hit upon a particularly broken set of talents.
I'm also very curious about that as well. And we're going to have to compare notes because like I said, I feel like I'm made of paper right this second, and I'm sure that's going to change. But like,
are you using a shield?
Oh yeah.
Get rid of a shield. Don't use a shield.
Okay.
I don't use one at all, and I think maybe that's part of the thing. Maybe there's a bug in here somewhere. I'm gonna have to play around with this tonight. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to send each other our specs so we can compare this. But again, before we go into the indie game news stuff, Liz, do you mind doing the thing?
Absolutely. I am here to remind all of you listening at home that Blizzard Watch is made possible by our supporters. All of you listeners are helping us out just by listening, but I do want to send a special shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, which really keeps the site and all of our podcasts going. So, if you can support us on Patreon, $3 a month will give you early access to all of these podcasts, plus the special Blizzard Watch podcast pre-show, which is an unpredictable delight every week. And all of those are ads-free. At $5 a month, you also get ads-free access to the website at blizzardwatch.com. Yes, we have a website. We don't just talk to you. We type at you also sometimes, too. If you can support us, awesome. It is you guys who really keep the site alive. If you can't, I totally understand. But you do support us by tuning in and listening. You support us by sharing our content, whether that's sharing the podcast with a friend, whether it's leaving a comment, whether it's dropping us a like on social media. And you can follow us on social media. We are Blizzard Watch on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Mastodon at gamepad.club, blizzardwatch.com on Bluesky, Blizzard Watch Podcasts on YouTube, and blizzard.watch on TikTok. So follow us for the latest news, for clips of our podcasts, for me sometimes posting transmog pictures, sometimes you do that just to see how many likes you can get, and so you can feel cute. That's just a thing.
We are cute. We are very cute. Admire us. Admire my plumage.
I did post a picture of my druid this week wearing a little blue snow hat, and it's so adorable, but I feel more adorable because a bunch of people liked it. Yeah. Anyway, you can follow us on social media, and liking and sharing our stuff really helps us out. If you happen to be looking for any World of Warcraft books, we also have a guide to the books, all in chronological order at blizzardwatch.com/warcraft-books, and if you buy from a link on that page, we get a little affiliate revenue. So that helps support the site too. If you, if you're buying books anyway, you can buy them through those links, and it helps us out. So if you can support us on Patreon, that is patreon.com/blizzardwatch, or just stay here and keep listening. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And if you have questions for this or any of our podcasts, we've been a little low on questions lately. So if you have questions, send them our way and we will try to answer them. You can reach us at podcast@blizzardwatch.com. Specify the show you want to ask in the subject line and any special pronunciation of your name. You can also contact us on Discord in the Patron Q and Podcast Questions channel for patrons, or the Q and Podcast Questions channel for everybody else. And we love your questions, so send them our way. And thank you to everyone listening for your support.
And thank you to Liz for reading all the site news. Keep the site going, because otherwise we would just be talking on Discord.
We'd be talking to ourselves. Yeah.
But we're pretty much done, but I do wanted to throw out this Indie Game Awards deal, because this is absolutely fascinating. Apparently Game of the Year went to Clair Obscur. Go ahead, Liz. I heard you getting ready to queue up, so go.
The Indie Game Awards were just last week, and they very much celebrate independent games and some of the smaller games. So, we saw the Game Awards a couple of weeks ago, and it's all of the big games. And even though a lot of indies had representation, and Clair Obscur won Game of the Year there as well, you kind of saw the same large games. And at Indie Game Awards, you get just a lot more variety. There are lots more categories and more granular categories. That helps give an opportunity for more different kinds of games to shine. So Clair Obscur, for one, it didn't sweep the Indie Game Awards because it couldn't be nominated for everything, because the categories are so much more granular. You just can't fit into all of them with just one game. But yeah, it did win Game of the Year. If you go and you watch the video of the award show, you will see them accept Game of the Year and be very gracious about it. And they use their acceptance speech to call out a lot of great games they'd played this year and all of their fellow indie devs. And I thought it was really nice. It was a good show. But yeah, the day after the show, they pulled the award because of Clair Obscur's use of AI in the game.
Not just AI, Gen AI. There's a big difference there.
And that was definitely a surprise. The Game of the Year award went to runner-up Blueprints, which I loved the heck out of Blueprints. It's just, wow. The Indie Game Awards does take a really strong anti-AI stance. And you are required to, when you submit your game for consideration, you're required to say, did this game use Gen AI? And
this is a broader topic that we need to maybe have as a major topic during the actual show.
This is a big one.
Yeah, because Larian also just got the ire of the internet for a few days.
Oh, yes.
And the thing is, like, there's a certain amount of context that I think needs to be applied to it. I don't like AI. And I'm gonna be clear about that. But there are use cases when you are rapidly prototyping and you have a contained LLM that's only using your assets to rapidly prototype stuff. I think that's fine. This, however, when the part that they had shipped with Gen AI assets, that is a problem. And there's a lot of games that are guilty of doing that. I think Arc Raiders was the other big one. Everybody was loving it, and then it was I guess a Gen AI asset like nightmare. And it's there has to be a distinction drawn. And one, I'm glad that the Indie Game Awards called them out on it, because I feel like shipping with it live is a problem. Again, using it on the back end to rapidly prototype or to test a proof of concept and then going in and the humans doing what humans need to do is completely different. So
yeah, but that's like what you're talking about is a situation where they're using all their own assets as the training tools, and that's not what most generative AI is.
That's not what Gen AI is. No,
that's when people basically just turn the fire hose on and spray as much stuff as they, and that's basically, and this is the reason that I always feel like I need to say when we're talking about this, this is just plagiarism on an assembly line. That's what this is. Go ahead, Liz.
I do want to say it's hard to say what the details are in the final way of things. We don't know exactly what kind of tools they were using. What we do know is that Clair Obscur did ship with some generative assets, some AI created assets. For example, one of the ones players caught really quickly was newspaper clippings that were in background textures that were. You can tell when a Gen AI is making fake newspapers because it looks good from afar, but if you ever stop to look at the details, it stops working completely. And that was patched out. It was patched out within a week. They rolled out a patch and removed some of these assets, which were accidentally shipped with the game. So my point of confusion here is this was known. This was known when the game launched. This came out when the game launched. When there was an interview over the summer with the Spanish language publication El País, and where they mentioned that they used AI in development, they said, I believe they said very little. So this was previously known, but it feels like something was said or done just after the award show or when the award show aired that changed things. It feels like this was a thing we knew about. So I've looked around to see, okay, who said what, when, that changed the situation, because this is something we found out about over the summer, and it seems very sudden, and it's kind of whiplashy to see them do this great acceptance speech, and the next day it's like, no, actually you aren't Game of the Year, someone else is.
I mean, it is odd that they knew in advance, and then the next day it feels like somebody obviously
I don't
but we don't know. We have no idea. We don't know. But I will say it's really fascinating to see this, because Clair Obscur won so many awards at the Game Awards this year.
Yeah.
And nobody batted an eye, and nobody said, hey, what about that generative AI?
They're very different award shows.
They are very different award shows. I just think it's interesting. I'd like to know what we see in the future. Go ahead, Liz.
I'm just curious, did either of you actually watch or listen to the award show, the Indie Game Awards?
I did not have time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I
had time, but I didn't. I don't like watching award shows very much. They give me that. Do you ever get that embarrassment for people? And it's like you start feeling like, if I see people being embarrassed, or if they're like not winning an award that they obviously really want to win, I feel very intensely like their embarrassment or disappointment, to the point where I remember watching when I watched clips from the Game Awards. There's one clip where I was so thrilled that Erika, she was just eating popcorn and having a good time, because usually there's somebody who looks so crushed, And I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. Oh, thank God, she's just eating popcorn.
So here's the difference between the Indie Game Awards and the Game Awards, which is you're going to watch the Game Awards and it's this big flashy presentation that's mostly advertisements for future games, and they're getting through the awards as fast as you can. And if your experience is anything like mine, you're going to get to the end of the night and you're going to kind of hate the video game industry. Like, you've seen some good trailers and you've seen these, like, as fast as they can get them off the stage, acceptance speeches, and it's like you've watched 3 hours of advertisements and you just feel a little tired. You feel a little exhausted of it all because, yeah. But if you watch the Indie Game Awards, this is not about advertising future games. You're not going to watch trailers for future games. You're going to see trailers for the games, trailers and clips for the games that have been nominated. The actual developers of those games talking about how much they love making games, how much they love the gaming industry, how much they love their games or other games people in the industry are making right now. It's not a live show. Acceptance speeches and things like that are pre-recorded and sent in. So you don't get that thing where people are like called out of the blue, like, hey, you won, get up here on stage, and now you have to make a coherent speech. So it feels very clean, and it feels you can really see these people talking not just off the cuff because they've had some time to prepare and what they want to say. And it's just, you come out of this show with the love of games because everyone in the show has such a love of games and they're so grateful to be part of the industry and making games about them, making the games that only they can make. That's the thing about indie games, is it doesn't have to be 1,000 people in a giant multi-billion-dollar company to make a game. It can be just one guy. It could be just a couple of people and telling stories that are deeply personal and just for them. So if you haven't watched it, I would recommend watching it. It also takes a very strong stance again about human-made games. These are the games that only these people involved could make. And it's just, it's such a feel-good game show. And it's kind of the antidote to a big award show like the Game Awards. And it's very wholesome. But yes, it's interesting to see them take such a hard stand on Clair Obscur, and for it to have happened so suddenly when I felt like we knew about this in advance. So
yeah, but I think to a degree there's also the fact that it's simply not going to hurt Clair Obscur them.
Oh, it's not going to hurt Clair Obscur.
To a certain degree, I feel like the Indie Games Awards they're free to do that because they don't have to worry they're going to crush anybody.
Well,
and I don't think anybody is arguing that the studio behind Clair Obscur should be crushed. No. They just shouldn't do that again. We're all like, don't do that again. We're not like burn them. So I think that's one of the ways that they can just feel more comfortable doing it. They can take the stance because they don't have the power to hurt people as badly. Go ahead.
Well, it's just, it's in the rules. These are human created games that did not use AI in development. It's just, yeah, why give the award in the first place if we'd already known about this? And something must have come to light that I'm not aware of, because this felt like something that was well known before this point.
Yeah, I don't want to keep talking about it because we're sort of running out of time, but like my gut's telling me that we're going to find out something more than just this accidentally shipped with some assets is going to like be the next thing, but we'll see.
Anyway, watch the Indie Game Awards. It's such a good show, and you will learn about so many cool games. Not games coming out in years, but games that are out right now and games that are winning awards. And even the games that didn't win awards, really great games.
Sorry, you guys had really good air going, and then you just stopped. And I'm like, oh, no, they stopped. I was trying to think of something cool to say to wrap things up. I'm just going to go with, okay, guys, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you to Liz and Joe for having really good opinions that allowed me to kind of zone out there a little bit. I'm sorry. I was thinking about my paladin. I'll be up front. I was like, I gotta get out of here. I can go play my paladin some more. I'm super into paladins now, guys. This is so weird. I've never really been that into paladins in Diablo. I liked them in Diablo 2, but they clearly weren't my favorite. Right now, they're still not beating barbarians, but I am playing a paladin, not a barbarian right now. So, we'll see what happens.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I'm having some. Anyway,
that's the important part.
This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thanks to Joe and Liz. Thanks to all of you for being here so I can talk about Diablo 4 because I like doing that. And otherwise, people get mad when I just won't stop doing it on buses. Except sometimes I've actually had a couple of really good conversations on buses about the game. But anyway, we'll talk to you guys next week.